Melissa, you come and gone. The 2026 Penn Relays, can the Jamaican high schools afford to attend this year? We had a chat with Keith Wellington, the president of ISA.
Many of our schools, it's very important that they attend the Penn Relays.
This episode is sponsored by J&J Garage. Top quality, cheap prices.
J Garage, we do excellent brakes and clutch repair. Pressure plates, flywheels, disc brake pad, brake shoes, clutches. Any job you have, cars, vans, jeeps, buses, trucks, and tractors. Just call J&J Garage, 1-876-408-3836, 887-7504 for all your pickup and delivery service throughout the 14 parishes.
Another one of our YouTube channel conversation here on SportGlobe, and we have none other than Mr. Keith Wellington, the principal of STETS, which is the St. Elizabeth Technical High School, of course. And of course, Mr. Wellington is the president of the Intersecondary School Sports Association. As well, welcome, Keith, and thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, man, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, we appreciate it, Keith. It's a little bit more relaxed than TV and radio and that kind of a thing, because this is social media side of things, so we're just gonna have a conversation, almost like a little reasoning. So we wanted to catch up with you to talk a little bit about, of course, before I even go along, let me just congratulate you and your school in terms of winning the 2025 Da Costa Cup championships there in Jamaica. And of course it went down to the wire, as I heard it and watched it. Yeah. To the dreaded penalties, and even when it went down to penalties, it was still going, so big congratulations to you on penalties.
Each team took 11 penalties.
11 penalties, yeah, man. So it was really good, and I hope that just to speak about the schoolboy football a little bit before we go off into what I want to talk about, Keith. The competition, even though you had Melissa happen and all of that, it was still a great competition, especially from the Da Costa Cup side. I really enjoyed that, and enjoyed that the school played, in a way, because the students would have been affected in a great way, mentally. And, the spirit might be a little bit down coming out of their communities and that kind of a thing. And I know, especially in your area, it must have been daunting because your school was devastated as well, as I understand. I don't know if you want to shed any little light on that at all in terms of the challenges that you had in terms of overcoming that and even becoming champions.
Yeah, man, certainly it was something special for us as a school community. As you said, Melissa interrupted what was good. I think it was a really good season going on. And for maybe 6 weeks or so, we weren't sure whether or not we would have a competition. But then, the community, in terms of the residents, the students, everybody, started to look forward to the resumption because they wanted something to hold on to, something that, they could use as a kind of distraction from all the difficulties that they were facing as a community, just day by day living in terms of not having the necessary amenities, light, water, roads not good. People wanted something that they could use as a distraction, and I think that the football provided that opportunity for everybody, but in particular for us as a school, who loves football so much. The community really loves football as well. I think it really worked out well.
Fantastic. So how is the restructure, how is the rebuilding now going on? Just to talk a little bit about you and the school. How is that? Because I know you lost roofs and lots of damages. How is that coming along now?
I think we're progressing and know that maybe some persons would want to see things move a little bit faster, but the truth is that we suffered real significant damage, and a lot of this work, as I think I said it from the very first day, even if we had all the cash required, it would probably take us 6 to 8 months just to get back everything in place. We don't have all the money that is required. I think that we are doing well in terms of getting the resources to get the campus back up and running. I suspect that in another 3 to 4 months, we should be back to some level of normalcy. but we have been able to get our students back to school. Our senior students, grades 10 to 13, they are basically in school every day. Our first to third formers, they miss school 1 or 2 days per week because we can't get everybody on campus at the same time now. We still have one major block that is totally out of use, and that's a grade 11 block. And there are still some other amenities that we need to get repaired before they can be fully functional. But I am, to be honest, I think I'm pleased and I'm grateful with where we are. I'm grateful for the support that we have gotten from corporate Jamaica as well as from the requisite government agencies.
Okay, fantastic. All right, Keith. So, the reason why we're brought here on this morning is because we know, of course, Gibson Relays coming up, boys and girls champs coming up, but we see those coming up, and we see quite a bit of challenge with Gibson Relays that's coming up as well. The organization spoke about a lot of the challenges. Of course, Melissa put a big damper on a whole lot of things, especially for the schools out in the western areas, right? And of course, there's always a huge financial challenge when it comes down to schools and sponsorship and that kind of a thing. So we wanted to have a look at the Penn Relays. I know at some other point in time I might want to talk to you in regards to the Boys and Girls Championship and the challenges that, you are. I don't know if you have any challenges, but I suspect that you would have challenges. If you don't have any challenges, I know the schools might be having challenges themselves, but I know there are financial challenges existing. But we want to talk a little bit about the Penn Relays coming up, because it's one of the oldest track and field meets around the world, right? Starting in the 1800s, something like that. And Jamaica has been very, very, very popular at this particular meet each year. I mean, if you look at it right now, if the Jamaican contingent don't come out to the Penn Relays might not be the way it is, at any given year. So, and I must commend, you and the schools for definitely coming to this carnival.
Hey everyone, check out this bump-free spray. It stops the grown hair to show you just one spray. It's that easy. No bumps, no irritation, just smooth skin. Get yours today.
Every year and being a part of it and being celebrated the way that Jamaican high school and schools in general has been celebrated at the Penn Relays. But it's the challenges that I wanted to speak about that the schools might be looking at. I know your school had gone to the Penn Relays, repeatedly a number of years all the time and done very well. So I just want to ask you from you sitting as the ISA president, is there any challenges that you would have seen or been talking to the schools about in terms of attending this year Penn Relays, and if there's anything that you can relate to that?
All right, so first of all, let me just say, for many of our schools, it's very important that they attend the Penn Relays, and we support them in attending. It's not necessarily because they have a grand opportunity to win anything at the Penn Relays. We normally dominate, but if you look at it, there are maybe half a dozen schools or so that will come and actually win something. We end up each year having maybe up to as many as 30 plus schools in attendance. Why we believe that it's important that they attend is that, one, obviously there's the opportunity for our athletes to expose themselves to the North American circuit, where many of them will end up as student athletes for college. But also, when we look at how our Jamaican schools get the support from the diaspora, it's important that this opportunity is presented for them to go and showcase their talent in front of their past students in North America, in the tri-state, because a lot of support comes from that area to support our various sports programs, as well as track and field, and not just our sports programs either, but our schools as a whole. And this year, for the Western schools, a lot of support would have come from that area post Melissa. And so we believe it's important that they get the opportunity to come and participate and to mingle with their past students and the diaspora in that year. The challenge that we are having this year, well, before I get specifically to this year, we always have the challenge each year of finding funds, especially for airfare. right? Team Jamaica, because does a really, really good job in terms of assisting with the accommodations and meals. But the airfare is usually the biggest deterrent to schools traveling to Penn Relays every single year. And then now from year to year, we have the issue of visas. This year, with what has been happening with the US State Department, it is becoming a lot more challenging. First of all, to even get an appointment. Right now, schools have been given dates of in June and July to attend the embassy for an interview to come to the Penn Relays in April.
Wow.
So that is the biggest drawback. But again, thankfully, over the last 3 or 4 years in particular, we have had a very good relationship with the embassy. And we have been able to have discussions with them about getting the schools into the embassy maybe mid to late March, so that they can get their interviews done, even when there's a challenge in terms of scheduling through the regular system. So we're hoping that has not changed, and that we, in another week or so, we can reach out to the embassy to say, these are the numbers of students who would like to be interviewed, and therefore we are asking for a date in a few weeks' time to do the interviews. But that is the biggest challenge we are having now, which is to get them to the embassy for interviews. And then obviously, as I said, the issue of finances, in particular for airfare, it is becoming more and more difficult because the number of flights into Philadelphia directly from Jamaica has gone down to, I think, probably 2 flights per day from American Airlines. Everything else is a connecting flight.
Yeah. So I've been looking at some numbers, Keith, in regards to travel. And of course, the visa situation is is a cost that you have. Travel is a cost that you have. I mean, accommodation, team vehicle help with that quite a bit. And of course, you have to feed the students while they're there. You know, I'm looking at $185 now to apply for a visa. I don't know how many of the students already have one. So you might have a whole lot of new students that they're carrying that needs to pay that kind of a money. So that alone is a huge sum. I mean, the $250 for this interim thing, I don't know. I think they have delayed that a little bit.
Right. That is applied right now.
Yeah, it would have been a big deterrent, I'm pretty sure, because that's a lot for you to be paying 85 plus. Almost for visa application alone would have been something like $400. That would have been, a big deterrent. And of course, I take a look at what travel costs flying into Philly would have been around about that time when the carnival is being hosted, and it's anything over $1,000. Yeah. So if you ever, I don't know the contingent that you normally carry, but I would think that it's around about 6, 7, 8 athletes or 10 student athlete that you'll be taking along with, especially for a school like yours that pretty much participate in more than one relay event, and that would have been
the average for most schools could be the average may be around 10. There are schools that take as many as 16, 17, 18 athletes. A small school is not going to take less than 5 or 6.
Right.
So and then you have to talk about a chaperone and at least one coach. So you're looking at minimum team sizes of 8 persons.
And that's why we wanted to have a look at it, because the cost seems exponential right now. And with Melissa coming and taking over, because I know even for your community and in your parish, you have your old student association that would have supported a lot of these efforts for Penn Relays. Now, a lot of that money would have been spent in the Melissa. This episode is sponsored by J&J Garage. Top quality, cheap prices.
J Garage, we do excellent brakes and clutch repair. Pressure plates, flywheels, disc brake pad, brake shoes, clutches. Any job you have, cars, vans, jeeps, buses, trucks, and tractors. Just call J&J Garage, 1-876-408-3836, 887-7504 for all your pickup and delivery service throughout the 14 parishes.
Recovery effort from the same grouping of people, because I've looked at your old students. I heard you speak about them coming on board and helping, with rebuilding, and even for the communities that they're the surrounding communities with the school, they would be supporting that. So I'm trying to see how difficult a situation, or what is the help that you guys will be looking for, the schools will be looking for, and how much that you can say about the help and the outreach that would be needed to help these students to get to, a carnival like the Penn Relays this year. Because I know funding must be difficult, in terms of doing so much things at this time.
Yeah. Again, obviously, this is something that the schools want to do, but you have to be pragmatic. And at the end of the day, like you said, it's the same sources that usually support the schools in so many other different areas. And in this case, many of them would have had personal losses in terms of family members who would have suffered loss, and therefore a lot of their resources may have been spent dealing with the individual situation, the family losses, the community losses. So we're not sure how much resources is out there and how many persons will be able to offer the type of support that they normally offer. So that is an issue, and this is something that is extended not just to the Penn Relays situation, but generally across our fundraising efforts. Persons are concerned about other areas that they have to be supporting. So right now, I think the priority is on preparing for champs and getting the kids to participate in champs. So I am not so sure of the extent of the difficulties that we will face as a result of what we have mentioned, because people are really focusing on getting the athletes prepared for champs. But I suspect that there is going to be that additional burden, and maybe teams are not going to be as large as they used to be. Maybe a few schools who would be coming not necessarily trying to win something, but just coming for the experience and the exposure. Some of those schools may not be able to participate this year. So all of that, I think, over the next 2 to 3 weeks will be evident, and maybe we'll have a clearer understanding of the impact that these situations will have on attendance at Penn Relays this year.
Yeah, so is there anything from an ISA standpoint, though, in terms of, maybe even getting messages out, to families, to friends? Is there any move from ISA that you will be able to use? I know you'll be using the capacity that you're in as president for Boys and Girls Champs. Absolutely. Right. But for Penn Relays, which is individual schools trying to get there themselves, is there anything that ISA, plan on doing in terms of, outreach or sending a message out and appealing to, a particular group or sponsors or anything like that you'll be able to do at all in getting these students there?
All right, so obviously that's, strictly speaking, the responsibility of the individual schools, because we wouldn't even know, for example, which schools are going or are not going. But we have been making efforts, and we speak a lot with our stakeholders about support for the schools. And there are some things that are happening. So, for example, Penn Relays this year have agreed not to charge any entry fees for students who are for schools Jamaican schools that are participating at Penn Relays. Team Jamaica Bickle has made an arrangement with a set of hotels where the cost for accommodations will be significantly reduced. As I said before, the real issue each year in terms of costing is actually the issue of airfares. That is a little bit bigger than us in terms of being able to negotiate cost for for flights. But we have said to our schools, because we have actually started to meet with the schools already, make the arrangements early, because the earlier you make the arrangements, the less it's likely to cost you. So that is the angle that we are taking it from. And again, obviously, we will continue to speak with our various stakeholders about the support for our schools and ensuring that they are able to get that support to participate.
Is there any way at all, though, Keith? Because I know, for ISA they have quite a bit of sponsor interest a lot of times in terms of high school athletics and school athletics totally that might want to participate. Is there any interest at all that has been shown from some of your stakeholders that you have when it comes down to students, track and field or student sports?
You mean specifically for Penn Relays?
Specifically for Penn Relays.
So traditionally it would be a little bit early to see where that interest is and where that support is, because for us, really and truly, now people focusing on Penn Relays. So I'm sorry, on
Champs.
On Champs. That's a reality.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know who are going to be the top schools, which relay teams are the best relay teams. You don't know that just yet,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in addition to that, the truth is that Champs is by far and the highlight of the track and field season for our schools. So even our schools themselves, we have to beg them and plead with them to look here, pay some attention to what's happening for Penn Relays. You can't wait until after Penns to start planning. So even the schools themselves don't pay as much attention to the planning process for Penn Relays until after Champs. So what we have been trying to do is just really trying to, especially with Team Jamaica, because is trying to get them to pay a little bit more attention earlier to the preparation for Penns. And I think they have, over the last couple of years, that has been done. But in terms of getting sponsors and money involved, we have not gotten to the stage yet where sponsors are going to commit to Penn Relays as early as now. You have some schools and some sponsors who are linked and will always support each other when Penn Relay times come. So the schools, again, the individual school knows who these sponsors are and they make those efforts. But our corporate sponsors themselves, as I said, they would not yet be so engaged with the Penn Relays idea until after Champs. But quite a few of them do support the Penn Relays idea. And remember as well that from an ISA perspective, schools gain reflows or monies from Champs that can be used towards their Penn Relay expenses. Right, but again, you don't know how much you're getting until after.
Everything is done. All right. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to get from you, Keith, a little bit about stats. How are you managing in preparing for Penn Relays this year? Because I know, it is a struggle to prepare for Champs, even now, because I've heard you on another interview talking about what the struggles are and that you're having, and even for, Intersecondary School Sports Association, and some schools might be participating or they might be sending smaller numbers. And we're seeing that through a lot of the weekly meets that has been postponed and put off and that thing for a lot of financial. I don't understand what Melissa has done. So for stats right now, how are things looking for you in regards to preparing for, this track and field season that is, with the Champs, and of course Gibson is going to be coming up shortly, and then we have Champs, then you have Penn Relays. I'm not so sure what else is in your planning. How are things looking from your old student association, your family, in terms of your community over there in St. Elizabeth, and other stakeholders that you have? How are things looking for you?
Well, so one of the significant loss that we suffered as a result of Melissa is damage to the dorms that the girls use. So that has, that suffered real significant damage, and therefore our girls team has been significantly affected negatively. They haven't been able to train properly since Melissa, and that is going to affect our performances. We actually lost Western Champs for the first time in a while. And I think Mount and Verla did really well this year, and I must commend them. But with a significant cause of that loss would have been the lack of preparation from our girls team. They did really well still, because they still came second. But if you looked at it, for example, our sprinters, we basically got nothing from our sprinters because they weren't able to do the type of work that would make them sharp enough to do well.
Right.
And so we expect that that is going to affect our performance at Champs this year. So that is going to be an issue. The boys are a little bit better off, but we still have issues in terms of preparation. We still intend to participate at Penn Relays this year. May not be as big a team as we would normally have, but we have a good enough team can come to the Penn Relays and do well. We are expecting the usual support from corporate Jamaica, as well as from our alumni association and parents who usually commit to providing this opportunity for our student athletes.
Well, Keith, I appreciated quite a bit chatting with you today, and thank you for the time that you take to chat to us. And I hope all the best for the student athletes preparing for, these couple of meets that coming up. All the best with the Kips Relays on the weekend here. I don't know how your students going to be faring, but I saw what happened at Central Champs with the boys and things. So, let's see. As you said, the girl was a little bit. Maybe there are some adjustment made, and they can put on a better show at the Kips Relays.
The longer the season go on, the better they will look.
The better they will look.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So, and of course, I want to get you back to talk about boys and girls champs as well, because I know, that's the biggest thing ever, and that's the biggest thing in the world for me when it come on to high school sports, high school track and field. Still one of the greatest show on earth when it come on to students. So must commend you for the work that you have been doing since you have taken over the helm at ISA as well. I think you walk into it, and the improvement, I like it quite a bit. I've been watching it over the years. I was able to participate at champs for years gone by. But it's still a place to be, and really appreciate it. But we'll talk to you later on in regards to boys and girls championship. But appreciate you coming on, Keith, and chatting with us in regards to Penn Relays for this year.
Yeah, man, and thanks for having me. And we look forward to the support, and anybody out there who believes there's something that they can do to help a school or a student to participate this year, we'll appreciate it.
Thank you again, Keith. Appreciate it.